Friends, today in a series of talks on labor laws and industrial relations, we are going to have something very different. We are all aware knowledge prospers all, and in our journey of sharing knowledge, we all should be very, very well versed with what is happening in the market, what is happening internationally, what is happening in India as far as industrial relations are concerned. And that is why, friends, we have today invited an expert on the subject who is a stalwart and a name known all over India, and he is nobody else than Mr. Vinod Bidwaik. Mr.
Namaste.
Vinod Bidwaik is having a 20 years of experience in Indian and multinational companies and also in manufacturing, automobile, life science, material science, machine equipment, you name the thing. He's currently working in Alfa Laval, which is in Pune, as the Vice President HR, and he's a management team leader, CSR committee member of Alfa Laval. And prior to this, friends, he was working with DSM India Private Limited. And then he's worked with so many organizations, Mahindra and Mahindra, Semperit Groups, Sakal Media. Sakal is a very leading newspaper in Pune. And he's worked as their corporate chief manager, corporate HR, and has an expertise on many, many functions. Now, Vinod has extensively worked in the areas of business strategy, organization redesign, organizational development, HR transformation, new way of working, employee experience, talent management. Well, friends, I can just say we are lucky to have him today with us. He's also a person with a difference. He's authored many, many books in the vernacular, and in all, some of them have been translated, and all the books are on HR and industrial relations. Some of them also shows his literary flair. And then recently he's featured, I cannot resist myself but to mention it, that he is featured amongst the top agile leaders in 2021 declared by Sapphire Connect. He is the recipient of the prestigious Asia Pacific HRM Leadership Award 2014, National HRD Congress, Vibrant Gaurav Puraskar in 2016 by the Vibrant Group, Pune HR Leader in 2017, bestowed on him by the National HRD Congress, and HR Professional of the Year by the OHR Foundation. He is amongst the 101 top HR minds in 2019, declared by the World HRD Congress. Well, friends, how lucky can we be having Vinod with us to discuss as to what is the present industrial scenario? Besides this, friend, let me tell you, he is a person with a difference. His simplicity and his demeanor is just legendary. And beyond this, apart from all this, he's remained down to earth person. That is what I abhor epithets, but for him, I'm going to use something because he's truly exceptional. Yes, sir, welcome in our talk. Today, we are going to, sir, see something else in the sense, what are we going to do? What is the present scenario? There are so many turbulences which India is going on, the world is going on, and which makes me ask you a question as to what would be the effects of the Ukraine-Russia war on Indian relations, because that's that is the topic which everybody in industrial circles is talking with each other. So, what would be the effects, according to you, of the of the Russia-Ukraine war on India? Yes, sir.
Sir, first, let me thank you, express my sincere gratitude for inviting me on this platform, and pleasure to be with this, interacting with the audiences. Sir, very relevant questions, because India, after the globalization, we can't be isolated what is happening around the world. Be it is a recession, be it is a war, be it is some turbulences in other areas. And that's why this Russia and Ukraine war has a major impact in India also. I will, explain you why. Imagine the situation where, most of raw material or oil, or there are certain things are supplied by the major, imported in India. Now, there may be some things which recently I heard, and which actually my experience is that during such wars, demand and specifically, steel, oil went up. Raw material will have a major issue. So I have seen there are a lot of examples where there are vendors and suppliers have denied to quote even. They said that we will wait, what is the impact, and then we will quote. And it is as and when. So, when you want to buy this, we will quote that day. So that's the situation is. This will have a major impact on industrial growth. Because imagine the situation where you don't have material and there is in India consumption is going up. Demand definitely will be impacted by that of the raw material, but also is the ability. And I hope that this will not continue much more. War or battles are never good for the world. A lot of losses happens in that, not only economic, human crisis and everything. So that's why this will be a major impact in terms I foresee. If it continues, the possibility that will not be produced enough product which is required in terms to be consumed. There were earlier we heard because of the COVID in certain Chinese market there were semiconductor problems. Now it will be steel, raw material. There are certain things. Commodity market is going down. People are not quoting, vendors are not quoting, suppliers are resistant to supply because they are not sure that what will happen next. So definitely this will have the impact on the industries and we need to be careful going forward. We need to watch at least next few days that what will be the situation, what two countries, what the stand they take. And it's totally depend upon, specifically Russia and Ukraine's stand. They need to come forward, settle their conflict on the table and save the world from this crisis.
Yes, sir. Very true. I remember Mahatma Gandhi who quoted that that action alone is just, which does not lead any of the parties to a dispute. Ukraine or Russia, well, one day the war has to end, and
Absolutely.
the benefit of the whole world lies in it. So one more thing. Now today we have a proliferation in the IT industry. IT today, if we compare India and Pakistan, India is miles ahead. I mean, that's a matter of pride for all of us. India is the largest exporter also in the IT industry. But the question is on the industrial relations front, sir, as the demand and supply ratio is going to be a bit disturbed in the coming future years. What do you think? I mean, are unions increasing? Are there unions in the IT industries basically? And how do you see the industrial relations scenario in the IT sector, especially after 5 years or in the coming years? Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there are two aspects in that. Unfortunately, India is the country of young talent and specifically English-speaking talent. So that's the benefit for the country. And there are a lot of global multinational companies coming in India. They are settling their global in-house centers for IT, for KPOs and IT services in India. Specifically, not even other services like HR services, finance services, captive share services, all these things. So it is a huge market and exporter of services, exporter of IT product and ITS services. Talent market will be in demand, of course, but again, it is depend upon the skill set, what the people are actually, have. And we need to learn continuously, specifically in IT industries. Your skill actually become redundant if you don't learn. And that we have seen in past. So talent demand definitely is there. And when there is a demand, when unionization happens or union happens, or there is a conflict between employer and employees. It may be economic, it may be some benefit, it may be some the way of working. When there is a talent demand and the people are not staying within the organization, I don't think that the unionism will at least take in IT industries. Now there is always a debate that whether software engineer workman or not, and there are certain cases. There are efforts made by few IT professionals to form the union, but they are not that active because there is no as such law, or I will say, specific judgment or case where people can actually take disadvantage. I will correlate this during our automobile revolution happened in India in 2008-9, I think if you remember, there were a lot of talent, demand, and people were leaving the job, specifically blue collar, within 6 months, 1 year, because they used to get a lot of money in the industries. IT industry will remain same. Though it is white collar, it's IT professional, there is a demand. There will be the demand in future because considering the global market and the cost effective market. I will not use the word cheap labor. I will use the word cost effective. The return on investment is huge and the profitability in talent market is good in terms of IT industry. So that's why unionism or union or collective bargaining will have, they have to wait, or maybe that much will not be considered because there are individual contract industries. And I have seen the cases where people are getting 40, 100, 200% hike, having 4 or 5 offers in hand. Now, is it a bubble or is it the case where, when it will stop? You say that always there is a transition happening in IT industry. And when there are bad days, this unionism or, collective bargaining efforts are started, because then it is again protecting the people, protecting the human being. I feel that the salary, the benefit, what they offer, IT industry have added advantage, and that's why people would like to love their. It doesn't mean that the manufacturing and other industries are not paying good salaries. Now it is at par, but the way of working, the situation there, the efforts, the empowerment, I think that is employee engagement activities, and during pandemic, the flexibility given working from home. So that definitely will have the advantage to IT industries. And unless there is a major efforts, if I can give the example, if this Ukraine-Russia war continues, that may impact in the service going forward. Or it's again totally depend upon the India, what stand India takes. And then what will be the consequences on that, depending upon the India stand. We know that India taken a certain stand in the Security Council, but then what will be further is totally dependent on how it takes place. So we have to wait, but I foresee at least IT industry will continue to boom. There will be some performance issues, but then it also happened in past during the recession, but nothing happened. Unless there is a strong legislation comes to protect the IT workmen, IT professionals, but then it's again demand and supply. You have a huge demand for the IT industry. I visit normally, when I interact with the colleges, I came to know that, either you are from any faculty, mechanical, civil, we know that computer engineers can get in a computer industry or IT industry. Not really. It can be anybody. If you're a mechanical engineer, do some course, they just hire. It's a talent. So that's why I think when there is a huge demand, the talent itself is I will say is in a strong position to control the situation. And that's why that may not be possible, at least next 2 years. We have to wait how it's happening in manufacturing.
Yes, yes. No, sir. I mean, this was as regards the IT industry. But if we see the general galloping of India towards the 21st century, there are so many new technologies which are coming. Say, for example, the addition of robots. Soon we are going to have 5G, and then the spectrum is also going to increase. And so many new I even heard that India is even going to have a. I mean, this is something very unheard of. Yeah, of course. It's not in very near future, but certainly the endeavor is towards that. So what do you think? I mean, the impact of these technological changes on general industrial relations in India?
Yeah. I see there are a few elements here that, there are different trends happening around the world. Is the future ahead? No, we are living with future. I always say that future is already there because, your frame, your track, your sense to different equipments, your mobile phone, everybody knows what you are doing. We have smart TVs, smartphones, smart fridge, everything. So your information track, and accordingly, marketing companies, industries, capitalists are using you as a consumer, as a customer. And then there are different technology coming, that virtual reality, metaverse and all these things, sensor technology and all. 3D printing, where it is disruptive things. But when there are something happening, it also brings the opportunities. And the history says that when the computers were introduced in India, the lot of resistance was there that time from the and then unions and the people, and the company started giving the computer allowance to the people if they are using. I remember that in one of the media company, the journalists and the proofreaders were given computer allowance to use the computer. Now it is a reality. They started, and it's the way of working. Now nobody uses the pen and paper pencil. This happens with the technology. When there are changes of the technology, it also brings a lot of opportunities. Now it has a major impact on industrial relations. I will say my experience is that unions nowadays are becoming more matured. They also understand. When I interact few, internal and external and union leaders in different categories, they express, they say that, world is changing and we can't do what we were using yesterday, because at the end of the day, if you don't change, because we are forced to change. So one of the positive things I always see that if you explain that to the industry in a union, on a right platform, you explain them the benefit, because what happened, it's like a change management. We have a big white board, and if you put only dot, you notice that dot. Our employer, or as a management professionals or industrial relations expert, our job is to explain this white board rather than just pointing that small black dot. There is a lot of immense benefit, and and that's why multitasking, multi-machine operations, flexibility in the workshop, on the shop floor are now discussed positively. I remember a few years back, maybe 10, 15 years back, multitasking was not possible. People used to say, I am doing the job you have given me. If you want to change, it would have been a major industrial relations issues. People used to come, and then there used to be strikes and all these smaller things. Now, at least they are open. Unions are open. I think this technological changes, and it's also the ease of work, because this technology is also bringing, ease to the workmen. It's a lean manufacturing, or automation is bringing ease to the work, and their efforts are going down. I will say, physical efforts, and that's why they are becoming more agile, and then union is taking positively. Now there is always a fear in mind that if automation comes, our jobs may go. But it's again relative. What industries you are and what skills you are using. Because anyway, manufacturing industry or any industry's talent is required. It is a blue collar, white collar, supervisory, whatsoever. You need people, and provided those people are agile, they are learning new skills, putting their efforts, they have right attitude. Definitely, company would like to retain them. Based on the professional companies, because companies are not at all interested to right size the organization unless there are cost things, and that's why it is very important to be agile. So I see in technology is bringing some positiveness, and there was always a fear in the mind that okay, this will take, but you see there are a lot of jobs coming. People are generation of job is very generous economy. There are delivery boys. There are with this or all these things. There are tremendous job. I was sharing one example. Discussing with one thing with one of the relative. He was saying in his village, in a remote area, the person is earning almost 20,000 rupees per month, and he is a delivery boy for Amazon and all this product. And if it would have not been there were, he was dependent on, on the farming, or, which is uneven, and you don't know nowadays. So that's very important.
Yes, I mean, with all these things, what you're talking, I'm sure it's going to have an impact on unions. It's going to have an impact on government. It's going to have an impact on employers. So what would be the challenges which would be faced, say, by unions, government, and employers also, with all the changing scenario?
Yeah, very good question, because at one side there are a lot of things happening. It is a blast of change happening around the industries. You read every day what's happening. Disturbances are there. pandemic, after pandemic, now this war, and then instability and politics and all these things are different trends. I think this brings major challenges. And one of the challenge with the employer and even union representatives is how to convince the common man, their members, uh, to to adopt this all what is happening around that, because awareness and education is very important, and it's also government. We see that there are a lot of skill required, new skill are required, and there are different new skill are coming, but also soft skills, your behaviors, the way of working, the new way of working, it's changing. So, and that's why it is very important, and it's either government already started few initiatives like skill development councils, and all that, they are trying to to support the industries. Union also have some issues to protect their interest, and I see that being a credible partner, because union and employer now need to come together and be a partner rather than working as a oppositions in that, because we have seen that fights and conflicts and dispute. Now it is a partnering, I think. So that challenges are very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
So one more thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some peer ripples in unions. And then, I mean, a natural question comes up is how do countries like India contribute to union organizing and renewal also? Because the strength of the workers lies in the unions. So how can countries like India contribute to the union organizing and renewal in the changing scenario?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I think unfortunately what happened, manufacturing, in India, our manufacturing base, which is the major contributor to the economy, was very less. If you compare, we through IT service and all those of industries, and and that optimization is required, where we expect that what are those opportunities the government can give. The ease of the business is very important, and government is trying to introduce in few different labor codes in the country. It will definitely have an advantage. So that is one of the dimensions there. And then there are some soaps, facilities, infrastructure availability for the industry is very. It is a capital intensive. Manufacturing is a capital intensive, and unless the investor don't have that trust on the government or the country, then they will not invest. So what we are doing there is very important, and government is trying to do that. After the pandemic, there are certain Indian industrialists also very positive. Global investors are investing in India. We have to see that how we can increase that manufacturing base. Second, in the unionism can, I will say that renewal is possible when they have both parties have the positive mindset, rather than just for fighting on the things, on their own agenda or on a political agenda. It is very important that how they can support in the industries, come together and see that how the employment generation is possible in India. Union can play a major role. I will say that if they come up and support the industries, that okay, this is the way, and focus more on skill development aspect, having business partnering with the organization and policy formation, that will definitely help. So we need to increase the manufacturing base in India, and government has to play a major role there. Infrastructure development, support to the industries, and the ease of business by different laws, labor laws or your tax and all these things is very important. And union has to play a major role by establishing that credibility that okay, we are there to the industries, and we balance. We also ensure as a union representative that we will not tolerate the, I will say, some injustice to the workmen or the employees. But at the other side, we will also support wholeheartedly to the industries to grow, and then without involving in unnecessary, I think, politics or gundaism or mafias. What we have around the industries, that is unfortunate. So I think that can definitely help to renew that, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But one more question arises. Then, we all know that labor codes are knocking on the doors of every industry. Some states have made the rules. Some states have not yet made the rules. But okay, that would follow. But my question is, with the labor codes, would it simplify the industrial relations? The labor codes, which we have heard things like 55 laws being amalgamated into 4 laws, and then would it simplify the industrial relations, sir?
I think my view is I take a little bit conscious view in that, because they just different acts, they consolidated in one code, and there are 4 different codes. They did that. Uh, One of the things is that the guidelines and the framework, what they have given a larger framework, and then states has to come to the frame their own. I will say guidelines or regulations, rules under the state laws, converting into implementable. Uh, Definitely, the government has tried; their intention is there, but I think the advisory, the consultation process needs to be more matured and needs to be more, I think, strong. They publish this and they ask the suggestions from the people, industries, and unions. But then, how practical this, that we need to look into. It should not happen that there are 4 different laws put together and then it is implemented. I have seen few. Yes, there are certain things. Improvements are definitely there. We need to go through that, and there are lot many things which earlier was a bureaucracy, forms, formats, that actually at least they are taken out, and possibly there will have some advantage, I see. But there is a nevertheless, bureaucracy work in a different way. We need to practice that. We need to see how it is implemented, and then government also should be flexible, learn and get suggestions from the people once it is implemented, and amend accordingly. So I think this is a great move the government has done. But let's see when it's state rules. I think specifically in few states had already notified and drafted the rules. Let's see what happens going forward when the implementation starts.
At last but not the least, all our viewers would like to hear from you. Say in the last year, COVID and everything, is there some challenging situation you faced, or a challenging case, or something which you would like to share with the viewers? Yes, sir.
I think last 2 years were very disturbing, I will say, and also with great learning for all, and me too. And I remember these stories where there are every member in the family is affected nowadays that day because of the COVID, because of the pandemic, and specifically second wave was deadly in India with oxygen shortage and all these things, medical hospital bed and non-availability. And during this period, business continuity was one of the challenge, but also another challenge with the human things, thinking about the human safety, their health was very important. It was prime. So you have to actually, there were a lot of demands coming in the market because, in the food processing and all these things, medical, pharma, vaccine, all these things. And at other side, you also need to protect and safeguard your employees from the infection. So this really were a very challenging situation. And we had to do different scenario planning, go to the government, ask their permissions. During this period, I learned a major lesson that, you have to maintain the relationship, human relations. Human resource is one of the things, but we need to, transform or transitions from human resource to human relations nowadays, and from HR to people. People means your employees. People means the people around your society or around your factories. What is the impact of your actions on their life needs to be understood, and that actually gives a major benefit to the industries and even to the society if we think about that. I think my major learning, I have experienced a lot. I was the crisis management committee member where we had to, support employees. We have to think about business continuity, sensitize the employees for their wellness and health. So taking care of human being is a prime importance nowadays. I think industries are learning those, and we should take care. we have seen that crisis where people were traveling from one location to another, dying on the road, and people were not allowing this period. As a part, I am very happy that industries are coming forward to support them with the food, with the shelter, with the supporting in the hospitals. And during this period, I think the country all came together, and we collaboratively fought with this enemy, which is COVID-19. So I think one of my those experiences, I think, is a good is a big topic to discuss. Perhaps it can be very big book. Next time we can definitely discuss more about those stories. But I will say my great learning is think about human first. Think about your actions, and think what will be the consequences of your actions on tomorrow. Uh, One of the thing is crisis management. When there are crises, we actually start following that. But think that, and have your business continuity plan in place, your crisis management in place, that if this happens, and have scenario planning, that if something goes wrong, what is your plan A, what is your plan B, and definitely we can help people if we have proper planning in place. I think that's my take on this.
Yes, sir. And friends, this was a great erudite talk by Vinod Bidwaik. And all your views, sir, I mean, certainly reflects your experience.
Thank you.
Friends, so this is in a mission of sharing knowledge on behalf of the organizers. I would like to say a big thank you to Vinod, sir, though he is one of us and has been a guiding spirit to all the industry factors, personnel, people, unions everywhere. A big thank you, sir, once again, on behalf of the organizers. And friends, in our mission to share knowledge, again, as I told you, 4 videos would be on the content part of it. The 5th video, we would be discussing some very late case law, the latest in the market, which all of us ought to be knowing. And then the 6th video would be an expert talk. And today we were lucky to have Shri Vinod Bidwaik with us. Thank you, sir, once again. Thank you. And
Thank you, sir. And I enjoyed the discussion with him. It's a great learning even today also. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks.